only 3 letters left. Okay, today we're almost looking at, here it is. Okay, we have the letter resh, which has the R sound. It's the 20th letter. It has a numerical value of 200. In the ancient Hebrew, it looked like a person's head. All right? And the word rosh means head. Now, as you know, every Hebrew letter is also a word. The word resh, which is the resh yud shin, actually means poverty. Whereas rosh, if you have the aleph instead of the yud, it means head. And then you see it's also a picture of a head. It also means, you see it's 200, but the symbolic meaning is both a person, but also the highest person. So like the top dog or the president, or it's Rosh Nasi would be like the president. So Rosh means the top person. But also, one of the interesting things is when we think of our head, sometimes we think of our brain and we think of reasoning. And human reasoning sometimes compared to obedience or choosing between, do we want to be great, Rosh, or go to poverty? Which way can we go? One of the things I can't help but think of Luke 6:46, and the Bible, Jesus says, "Why do you call me Lord, Lord, but you don't do what I tell you to?" Okay, so what we have to see here is that when we're using our head, are we going to put our human reasoning first? Because Rosh is head. What are we going to put first as our head? Our human reasoning, or are we going to obey? Sometimes when we look at the Torah, we say, oh, that doesn't apply today, or we don't. We try to use our reasoning to do away with the commandments. Sometimes we tend to think that our thoughts and his thoughts are the same. But we know in Isaiah 55, verse 8 and 9, God says, my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways. He says, as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. So we have God's thoughts, and we have our thoughts. So when I think of head, I think of reasoning and our thinking. But how many know we need to put God first, even though something, it may go against reason? As far as separating things, the first time the letter resh is used in the Bible is in Genesis 1:6. When God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it do what? Divide the waters from the waters. And here the word is rakia, and it has to do with the firmament. And what does the firmament do? It divides between heaven and earth. And it begins with the letter resh. And I can't help but think of God saying, my thoughts are higher than your thoughts. There's a big divide there. And so the resh, in one sense, also symbolizes a division, as here it is used to divide heavens from earth. And so some of our greatest hindrance into obeying God is based on our human reasoning. If we allow ourselves to be ruled by our head, we come to poverty, as the word for poverty is the same root word. In Proverbs 13:18, it says, poverty and shame shall be to him that refuses instruction. So if you refuse instruction, and how many know 2 Corinthians 3:16, all scripture is given by inspiration of God and profitable for what? Instruction. Okay, so when we refuse the Torah and God's instruction, what happens? We get poverty, which begins with the letter resh. It's the resh sheen, yud sheen. Okay, so here, head is rosh. Let's put a brain in there for human reasoning. Okay, think of it as a train. We see the locomotive, and we see our brain is what is leading the way. Now, remember the letter aleph? The aleph has a numerical value of what? 1. The last letter is the tav, which has a numerical value of what? 400. Okay, so what's halfway between 1 and 400? 200. Well, that's the resh. So numerically, we would think resh should be in the middle of the alphabet because it's 200. But that's not true. It goes way at the end. We're going to look at our last 3 letters, the resh, the sheen, and the tav. Why is it there? Okay. Now, the rain is, think of our brain. Okay. Our brain is not all left. That's to be God, representing God. We need to put our brain at the back of the bus and let God lead the bus. You following me? That's where the resh belongs, at the end of the train. Now, when you think of Proverbs 3:5, it says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not what? Lean on your own understanding. That's not what we're supposed to lean on. So our ability to reason with God is so we can appreciate what he has to say. You know, I can't help but think of Isaiah 1:18, come let us reason together. It's more for us to listen and to obey what he says. So in one sense, like the train, our reasoning should be more like the caboose rather than the locomotive. When you look at the letters that come before the Reshin Tav that we just looked at, it's the Sadeh and the Kuf, which represents, the Sadeh represents righteousness, the Kuf represents holiness, okay? Therefore, any reasoning or our head knowledge needs to come after acquiring righteousness and holiness. Okay, so when God leads the bus, he's the train, God is the engine, the Aleph. Okay, and then as we go through the Hebrew alphabet, and I think at the end I'm going to show you the meaning of every Hebrew letter, how you have a sentence, okay, when we look at this. But what we see, when we see the last letters of the Hebrew alphabet are the Sadeh Kuf and then the Resh Shin Tav, we see that our reasoning needs to come after we've acquired righteousness and holiness. And there you go.
Rain. So everybody say Okay, so that's how you say that letter. And Resh, Pastor Mark gave you a lot of ideas about Resh being the head and how we think and how our thinking needs to be in line with God's, that he leads our thinking. But I want to look at Resh from a little bit different perspective and show you, show you how Resh
okay, I put your
applies to Yeshua. So here we have the Kuf, remember that from last week, and remember the Kuf comes down below the line, which relates to holiness coming down to earth, and the Resh means that it's a head bowed in service. So we have holiness coming down and the Resh of the head of the Lord, so to speak, coming down to serve. And Hosea 11:4 says, I led them with bonds of love and bent down to feed them. And Mark 10:45 says, for even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life a ransom for many. So there you see holiness coming down and the bent head serving. And you see aspects of Yeshua. Now let's do right Resh, and then we're going to do something kind of fun. So everybody ready? Got your pens ready? It's just one stroke, and it's very important to curve this letter like the back of your head. So you're just going to go just below the line, and then you're going to come up to the line and down. And you're just going to curve that line right at the top of the line. It kind of got bumpy. Okay, but you get the fact that it's curved and it's one stroke. Okay, everybody got that? Now, Pastor Mark has taught this before, but now that you know these Hebrew letters, I want you to see how really critical it is to be sure that your Resh has a curved line instead of straight lines, and you see this in the Shema. So we can all read this now. Okay, everybody read. Shema, Israel, Adonai, Eloheinu, Adonai, Echad. And in the scriptures, the Hebrew scriptures, this last dalet is going to be larger than the other letters. Why? Because they want you to be sure that it is not a resh. If it were a resh, you would have this word, and that's acher. So we know that our God is one. If that were a curved resh, it would be our God is another. So it's really important how you make that letter and that you remember resh and dalet are different. All right, now I want to show you something that's kind of fun. And it's how Hebrew words morph. That's how I like to call it. They morph into other words. But the root word is what's important. And so we're going to read now. And the first word that we're going to read is, what's this vowel sound? O. And the 2 dots are going to say A. And the fe is going to say f. And then the aleph is going to be silent. So this word is ro fe. And ro fe is a doctor. Okay? Now look at this word. Actually, I shouldn't have a line here, except to show you these are 2 words. But now we're going to have rofe mumche. And a rofe mumche is an expert in the medical field. Okay, but do you see the word doctor? Now look at this. Terofa. Everybody read it. Terofa. And that is medication. Do you see the root word here? The resh, the vav, and the fe? That's the root. And that root will morph into all kinds of words that have some relation to the original root. Okay, so you see the relation between doctor and medication, and you see the root word. All right, now let's look at this one. Let's read it. The aleph with the line under it is going to say ah. The noon with the dot under is going to say e. So ani, Adonai, ro, fe, cha. What does that say? Ani, I am, Adonai, the Lord, rofecha, your healer. Do you see the root again? Now we're down to two roots of the word, but it's the same thing. All right, so ani, Adonai, rofecha. And you know how if you have a yud at the end of the word, it means mine, that closed fist. If you have a kaf at the end of the word, it means your. That's the open hand. So this one's mine, this one's yours, okay? That's real important to know. And then the last thing is the shortest prayer in the Bible, and it has, again, this root that comes from rofe, and it's, everybody read it, Rapha, this is a noon, na, la. And what does that say? Heal, please, her. Heal her, please. And this was Moses praying for Miriam. So there you go. That's the amazing Resh. Thank you for being here.